Hi there, everyone. Welcome back to el podcast de Salón de Idiomas. Hi, Rox. How are you doing?
Hi, Lon. I'm fine. What about you?
Everything's been doing fine. I have to tell you that I'm quite excited with the change of our demographics in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems that a lot of you are actually Gen Z.
Okay.
Yeah, when we started, most of our audience was actually like 40, 45 years old. So now there's a shift. And
Yeah.
now most of you are like 25, 23. So cool.
Wow,
I'm
cool.
glad that you are liking the podcast.
As a matter of fact, just before we started, there was someone coming because, of course, we are recording everything. This is in the school. And there was someone coming, and I just went to see who that person was because I thought perhaps he was a student. And I know for sure that when we set the date for recording podcasts, we shouldn't be having any classes, right? And I went to see who the person was, and he said, yeah, I'm a student, but I just came here to pay, whatever. Today I don't have a class. It's like, okay, because we were about to record the podcast. And he said, yeah, I know, I've always seen you. And it's like, oh, cool, because, we are just here
Wow.
talking, the two of us. And I believe most of the times we are unaware of the fact that there are like that many people listening to us.
Yeah. It's like a lot. Like, wow, yeah. I'm actually super happy. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
And so I decided, like, I did a little bit of digging today for our episode for today. It's actually a little bit inspired on you young folks listening to us. And so I gotta ask you the $1 million questions. Do you have TikTok?
I don't.
Me neither.
I don't have TikTok. I have to admit, I don't.
Me neither.
Okay. Is that a bad thing, or are we just old? No, come on. I know so many people who are older than us and they have TikTok. So
Yeah, right? Yeah.
just a matter of choice.
Yeah, you were just boring.
No,
always
I
boring.
spend hours on Instagram. So I can assure you that my time is wasted carefully on
Okay.
social media.
Okay, so basically this is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about whether or not we are wasting our time on social media. We're going to talk about microlearning.
Oh, wow. Such a great thing. Even though I'm not pretty sure whether I understand what microlearning is.
So what do you get from that? Like learning, like with a little book or something?
Yeah, imagine like this tiny. I used to have this tiny dictionary. It was like that. It was a bit difficult to see what it was written in it. So it's not that, right? It's not having tiny books.
No. I mean, to each their own, but it's not the case. So we're going to talk about like learning, for instance, something really useful in English in 30 seconds. Usually like what are reels on Instagram or a shorts on
Okay.
YouTube or
Oh, they're really cool. They're really cool.
or a TikTok that, yeah. So whether or not this is actually useful. Now, what is this? As I've mentioned a moment ago, this is just basically like your old Duolingo, your old Instagram reel, and everything that basically tries to teach you something really quick so you get the hang of it. Now, we gotta say, is this useful or not? This is what we're gonna be talking about today. And well, I guess that it brings why this is happening in the first place. Like, why are we so attracted to this? Since, of course, we are busy, we have a lot on our plate, and so we need to make sure that we make do with the time that we have, like little time during the day, maybe when you are commuting or something along those lines, that you can take advantage of these 5 minutes and learn something useful, right?
Yeah.
So not having like make use of the dead time that you have during the day, right?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't just say because we are busy and snowed under with work, but also because at times it's easier to, to grasp things when you're not constantly studying, right? Would you consider microlearning an infographic? I mean, that's, for instance, so if you follow us on Instagram or even on Facebook, we, we publish these short infographics, like the parts of a house or what expression you should be using when starting off a conversation. And those are pretty useful. I mean, there are many people, like saving that post.
Yeah. I don't think so, actually, that it could be considered like microlearning, since it actually requires maybe 3 minutes to read the whole thing and getting the idea. It's mostly like these really quick condensed an entire sentence or entire mini lesson. Like, I don't know, like in 30 seconds, I'll explain what inversions are to you and I'll give you 5 examples, right?
So if you have like a tutorial for like a 2 minute length tutorial, that wouldn't be microlearning.
Perhaps that, of course, that is a little bit like there's not a specific moment.
Okay.
It's mostly, of course, it's not that it requires that much of your active intentions, if you want to call it that way. We're gonna go into that in a moment later. Okay. So, have you tried microlearning? Do you follow something on useful on TikTok or Instagram? Do you follow us?
Definitely.
Of course.
Okay.
Okay, so now what we have seen is that there are two aspects of it. Of course, we are going to see how it can be useful, how it's not useful, and how we can make it work. Okay?
Okay.
So there is this research. It's from, I think that is from university. What it says, it's actually from here. Yeah. Oh well, this is okay. This is a collaboration between Spain, Ecuador, and Colombia. Okay, so this is about microlearning and a mini review. And basically, this entire article basically says that microlearning can be seen as doing like mental push-ups. Okay.
Wow, I really like that analogy.
Yeah. It sounds very cool since it's kind of like light. It can be frequent. Okay. And it's rather effective.
So you have to listen to it several times.
So we can, it actually can be taken as also like a spaced repetition that we have talked about a couple of times in the past. Okay. So, and another positive aspect is that it makes you feel confident. Okay. Since you're like, okay, I understood this, I can repeat it. Okay, cool. Then I can try something more difficult or I can try something new. So you keep yourself really, really engaged. And this is, for instance, how apps like Duolingo are so successful, since it is really good at gamifying the entire process of learning and how you feel rather competent about it. Okay.
I see. So in the end, it's quite manageable, right? So if you need to hear it twice or like 20 times, you just play it on record. Yeah.
Correct. And it goes without saying that since they are really enjoyable, you get to do it without any like effort. You're like, okay, I'm gonna do it because I really like it, and in the end, I'm actually learning, right?
Yeah, definitely. I believe this short but repetitive exposure really helps for the long time retention, right? So we might not be very good at retaining information, but the more you are exposed to the same thing, right? You listen to it like 10 times, it eventually stucks there into your mind.
Correct, exactly. And there is another research. It's the effects of microlearning on EFL students. Okay, and this is from a university in Thailand, and it basically says.
Okay, do our public knows what EFL students are?
English as a foreign language. Okay.
Okay, so that was it. So for those of you who want to learn English, that will be addressed to them.
Yeah, you are all EFL. Sorry for going so fast. I guess that I'm gonna make an entire podcast a micro-learning session. Yeah, I don't.
Just make sure you repeat. You know, you like play it the second time or the third time.
Yeah, listen to the 40-minute.
Or perhaps it's really engaging. You know, so if it's really engaging, you don't need to repeat it several times. You just you know, like save everything, install everything in your mind with just one single episode, listening to it once.
Correct. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that you think that way. So here they point out that it is also great for pronunciation and when we would call functional chunks. Okay. So we can repeat useful sentences over and over again, then use it several times. As a matter of fact, like when I was in my first lessons of German, I remember that there was this really useful video, and they had repeat the sentence, "Können Sie mir bitte sagen?" And that's like, "Can you tell me?" Okay, and that is really useful because that is a sentence that you would say like a lot of times, like, Can you tell me where the train station is? Can you tell me where the library is? Can you tell me what is the menu like?
We actually have something similar on our YouTube channel. There is this series of videos where we provide like a sentence in Spanish and its translation in English, and you have like the English version repeated like 3 times, so it stucks in your brain, right? So the correct pronunciation stucks in your brain. You just have to listen to it 3 times.
So yeah, for instance, those videos could be considered microlearning if they were an individual video each. So like we have them as like perhaps like a 10-minute lesson of useful sentences.
Because we collect like 20 expressions, from 15 to 20 expressions. So you have like a whole list,
Exactly. So just make sure, just chop that down, and then like you have microlearning there.
Okay.
So that's actually quite useful, and so for this repetition of these functional chunks, like this microlearning is super useful. Likewise, as it's a pronunciation that you can practice quite easily, as it's short, then it helps you to imitate as much as you can the native speaker, right?
Yeah, definitely. I believe it's really time efficient, I mean, it really fits into your schedules, and especially if you have no time for long blocks. You just, I don't know, I'm going to take the bus. While I'm waiting for the bus to come, I will just listen.
Correct. And that way you are getting more acquainted with how it sounds, the entire language.
And less sociable, because you wouldn't be speaking to the other people waiting for the bus.
Yeah. So for those who are very shy, this is also quite useful, since you can practice like you're speaking without feeling awkward of like practicing an entire conversation where there's nobody around, or you don't want anybody around because you're shy.
Yeah, definitely.
Now.
Yeah, I was about to say that I believe it's really on the ball, like this kind of micro-learning is really on the ball, mainly because we live in this fast-paced world where everything goes really fast, and our attention span is shorter than ever.
Yeah, that's another thing. And this is actually that is actually a really good transition to pointing out the dark side of it.
Okay, so yeah, let's go to the dark side.
Okay, so what happens? So here's like the other article that I got. I'm gonna add this once at the here it is. I'm gonna add this once at the description, so you can take a look at it and download it if you're curious about it. This is from Microlearning, Learning Performance in Higher Education, a post-test control group study. This is from India, okay? And it basically says that it doesn't really encourage the transfer of knowledge, okay? Like basically what we were saying a moment ago, that you can use these functional chunks and then use it everywhere else, doesn't really apply in advanced levels, okay? And that if you scroll over to the next thing, you're gonna completely forget about it, okay?
I see. So it's because they're not, you don't apply them to a specific context, you just repeat, which actually this reminds me of. So there is this like really famous dog called Bunny, and she knows over, 200 words, because right now like most of the pet owners have these kind of like buttons where they record their voices for a specific for a specific concept or a specific noun or a specific whatever, like park, food. They're really smart. They don't use food because otherwise the pet will be constantly, pressing food.
Of course.
And this reminds me a bit of perhaps we are similar to the way these dogs or even cats in some cases learn, is like just repeating the word, but without a context, right? Because they are just used to a bit like Pavlov's dogs, if I'm not mistaken, that was the name. You just associate a name. So just associate the name to a specific context, but you cannot actually formulate within a context. So that's the problem here.
Yeah, basically, exactly like that. Exactly. And like in the end, it takes this detrimental effect that you feel like and then when you're presented in real life situations, you're like, oh, right, wow, I don't know how to say anything. I don't know how to communicate. And that leads to also great frustration, of course. You're like, oh my God, I have like 1,000 days in this learning app and streak, and I don't know how to communicate. This is terrible. I am definitely horrible at learning languages. This is not for me, and so on and so forth. Okay.
I think it's one of the main drawbacks of using Duolingo. You just keep repeating, and okay, they ring a bell. However, they are not used within a context. So it's not like a conversation like the two of us are having.
Yeah, right. And actually, there are other aspects that we have to consider. For instance, it says in the article, knowing the world is not the same as using it in real life, which is basically
There
what we
you
have
go.
over here.
Yeah, it actually says the gist.
Yeah. And the point is that we don't have feedback and we don't have output. Okay. That's one thing. In many of these cases, like the majority of the control groups in all these studies, perhaps like 10% were actively using what they were microlearning. Most of them were just like consuming it, and they were like, oh yeah, I know it now. When, like, if you haven't produced it, if there's nobody correcting you, you cannot really say that you actually learned it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You have to use it within a context, and you need to have someone who tells you whether you've done it correctly or not. May that be a teacher or just a friend who knows the language better than you do. So, yeah. Okay. I mean, so if we were to draw a line from 1 to 10, 10 being like the most useful ever, and 1 or 0 like the least, where would you place microlearning within that, like span?
What do you mean?
I mean, if you were like 10, let's say, I would consider 10 like when you have a full immersion within the language, like going to a foreign country and speaking there in most of the contexts and having feedback. So, on a scale from 1 to 10, being 10 like the most useful as for learning a language and 1 obviously the least, where would you place microlearning?
Okay, so that is a little bit complicated for me to answer, since I mean, at first glance I will tell you like, I don't know, 3 or 2. However, there are ways that you can actually make it work, at least to some extent. I would tell you that it could never go as far as a 5. That's something that I could tell you, yeah.
Okay, so below 5 for sure.
Yeah, it's 5 or below. It cannot go higher than that. That's my answer for that, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And the last thing that this study is mentioning is that it has like the illusion of progress. And this is like the biggest thing that I was mentioning, that again, you are feeling like, oh yeah, I'm making so much progress, and then you're actually not doing it. The metaphor that they have for this, I really like this one. It says, watching fitness reels doesn't make you fit.
Oh gosh, and it's painful to hear that.
Yeah.
It's really painful. I have a lot of reels on, like exercising, like saved on my Instagram. But
yeah, I have so many recipes that I'm like, yeah, I'm freaking Gordon Ramsay, but maybe that's not the case. Since many of those recipes haven't been tried yet. But that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I guess that you could say that microlearning builds you a path, but you still need to walk it, right?
definitely. So it's like having the tools, but not working on making it.
Correct.
Yeah, but this does create a sense of need and a sense of collecting everything, right? It's like,
Correct.
oh, that's going to be useful. I'm going to save it. Oh, this is useful. I'm going to save it. That's going to be useful. I'm going to save it. 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 So eventually you have like plenty of things, but you don't use them. And it actually even happens with some books, right?
Yeah.
Like you see some like really interesting books on Amazon, let's say, with expressions for speaking C1 level. You buy the book, take a glance at it. You're never going to open that book again. However, if it's on social networks, like let's say on Instagram, oh, that's really interesting. I'm going to save it. Perhaps to some extent, you will go back to the things you've saved and remember one or focus on one, but I'm not pretty sure whether that's going to be that useful.
I guess that is also part of this problem of what is the illusion of choice, that the more choices you have, the more difficult it is to make a choice. And you're like, oh my God, what am I going to choose? So, of course, if you are on social media and you have like this gazillion amounts of content of anything, how are you going to prioritize what you actually are going to really focus your attention on rather than just wasting time?
For sure, definitely. I mean, no wonder why we have that short attention span, because we have so much information and so much input out there that it makes it virtually impossible to pay attention to everything.
Correct. So I was thinking about here we have then of course we have some tips as to how we can make use of this microlearning and trying to be part of those people who found it actually helpful. Okay. So it all revolves around being active about it. Okay. This is the gist of it. You have to be active about what you're consuming. So once you are capable of prioritizing and choosing what you want to choose, perhaps let's say, if we're talking about microlearning, 5 or 10 lessons per day, okay? Because if you are, I don't know, if you spend like an hour on Instagram, you could be seeing, I don't know, like maybe like 30 or 40, something along those lines.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. So let's go with a lower number that you can actually pay attention to. Once, for instance, you have watched TikTok and then they tell you like a useful sentence or a funny word, try to use it immediately. Not just, I don't know, repeating what the video says, but also writing it down.
That's helpful. But do you really actually think there are people who are going to be writing down the reel they've just been seeing? I mean, I don't know others, but in my case, I see a reel as, oh, that's interesting. I listen to it a couple of times and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's the point. That you got to be more aware of this. And so you're like, okay, this was really interesting.
Yeah.
Let me digest it for a moment. And then, I don't know, go to your notes on your phone and then write it down. Okay, this was a useful sentence. This act of stopping and having to like use this in a sentence is going to make it stay with you a little bit longer. And again, since you're spending more time with this, you are not spending more time on other things. Thus, you are not completely saturated with all this different content that you have, right?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
The struggle here is getting mindful when you're surrounded by a lot of stimuli, like plenty of reels out there.
Correct. And when it comes to pronunciation, for instance, you can listen to the video or whatever, and then not only should you try to repeat it, but you should try to record yourself. Then you can listen to the recording and compare it to the original one and see how much it differentiates. Again, that makes you spend more time on this. Doing all this extra work is making you spend more time on it. Thus, you're not spending more time on other things, and so on. It becomes a bit more useful.
And losing that shame you have of hearing your voice.
Yeah. I have to admit that I was definitely like that in the first episode of the podcast. I was like, I don't want
it was a passage of fire. Especially because we will be more aware of how our episode was like, so we will listen to it several times. I remember at the beginning it's like, oh gosh, I made that mistake. Okay, but whatever, it's like, move on.
Yeah, exactly.
So you too, just move on. If you're shy about the sound of your voice, just move on, but listen to your voice, to see whether you have made mistakes or not, or whether the pronunciation is really similar to the one you've heard in that shorter reel that you see. So
correct. And what else can we take from this? This is also something, as I told you a moment ago, that I couldn't put more than 5, since it's not an actual lesson. However, it can be a warm-up for a lesson, okay? So that's actually really good. In my case, I don't know if it happens to you. However, in many of my lessons, my students struggle quite a bunch at the beginning. They're like, but come on, like I have already answered these questions. I know how to do it. And then after the the last 50 minutes of the lesson, then they're on fire. They are doing everything perfectly fine.
Definitely.
And this is, just because you came here and you haven't warmed up yet, okay?
Warm up is like, it takes like 45 minutes of the class until your brain starts to actually function along the lines of the method you're using, or getting used to to the English again, to you, and it takes some time.
Yeah, correct. So you can use these reels or these microlearning content that you have found before the class, so your lessons can be even more productive than they already are, right?
Yeah. So it's a good one.
Now, let's go with something. I don't know if you want to listen to this.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are going to love this. I tell you that, of course, on paper, it sounds great. However, getting to doing this can be a little bit tricky, right? So you can build a really tight schedule when it comes to this. For instance, every single minute that you spend on microlearning, try to spend 3 minutes reviewing it and trying to like digest it. Okay. Then keep track of everything that you have consumed the entire week, and then review it like maybe on Sunday. Okay, right?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really promising. And I'm pretty positive that if you do this, if you follow the steps, you will have this like really important learning in your learning process. But the most important thing is to keep with this learning process, because otherwise it's just a nice short video you have seen online and it stays there. Okay, so should we perform some micro learning now?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Some micro teaching, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not really good at this. I have to admit. Well, actually, your TikTokers also have the script in front of them, so I'm not ashamed of what I'm going to do. Okay, I wrote it down. However, I don't have a prompter, so yeah, you're gonna see me reading this. I hope that you don't mind. If you are listening and you're not looking at me, then even better. Okay. So let's try to do this in a micro learning lesson style, TikTok, whatever. Okay, I'm gonna feel so awkward. Hey guys, today's English tip. Did you know that you can say I'm dead to mean I'm very tired? For example, after that workout, I'm dead. Try using it next time you're really exhausted. Follow for more quick English hacks.
That's great. That's great. I would the follow for more English, quick English hacks. Perhaps leave some time before you actually provided all the information.
Okay, yeah. So you wanna try it out?
I will try it.
Okay.
But I wanna change a bit because you have the one which is really great. Or should I try the same?
Yeah, let's try the same one, and then you are going to.
That everyone has a different style, though, so it's easy. I have to admit, it's easier to give feedback than doing it. Sorry for that. Okay, so where should I just put it here so I can watch you a bit with one eye and the other one to read?
Oh my God, can you actually do that?
Okay. Hey guys, today's English tip. Did you know that you can say I'm dead to mean I'm very tired? For example, after workout, I'm dead. Try using it next time if you're really exhausted. Follow for more quick English tips.
Wow, that was so much better than mine. There's no.
No, you know why? Because I already heard you saying it. So, I was going with some more.
Sure.
Like I heard it before.
That is very diplomatic from you.
No.
So, do you think that is actually useful? And do you think that you can use this? Perhaps you can actually ask yourself these questions. Did I understand that? Can I use this? Have I heard this before? Maybe not. That's fine. Do you think that you can remember this without getting confused, like saying I'm dead, and then people are like, what are you talking about? Okay, right? So try to be more, I would say again, not so passive about what you have just listened to. Okay, try to use it. That way it's going to be more useful than just, again, listening in, right? Right?
Definitely. And Lon, you have provided us with a really valuable lesson here because, I've never actually stopped, on my tracks and just think, it's like, wow, how can I actually integrate this knowledge that I'm watching this interesting video without just saving it?
Yeah.
Like in my case, I just end up saving that for later. And I believe 99% of the times I never go back to actually watch it a second time. But
interesting.
Yeah.
I have to admit that my time on Instagram is absolutely necessary for only looking at trash, like whatever dumb video there is. But I don't spend that much time on Instagram. I actually get bored of it.
Yeah, you do?
Yeah. I get bored after, I don't know, like after 5 minutes.
So what's the main social media you use and what for?
Well, more like content-wise, YouTube, definitely. For me, it's like the best thing in the world to be watching a 40-minute video.
But do you watch it, or do you? Because I usually play it, like while do stuff. I don't usually watch it. So I listen to plenty of podcasts. I have to admit, I'm a podcaster binge listener. But while doing the dishes or making some food or whatever, cleaning, it's not that I play it as if it were an episode of a series.
Yeah, well, that depends. Like, for instance, if it's something that is more just narration, then I would just listen to it. Nevertheless, for instance, if I'm watching a history video and then they're gonna show a map or something, then I have to take a look at the map at least. Okay, something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we can say that actually microlearning can be a useful tool. However, you have to be active. And actually, I have a really nice quote here. It's like a seed. It's not a tree. You sit wisely and grow it patiently. It can become something powerful.
Oh my God! Today it was full of quotes.
Yeah. These articles were really cool. I have to say.
So I will encourage all of you guys who are listening to us to subscribe, follow, and save.
Yeah.
For more micro and macro learning.
Yeah, and tell us about your experience. Are you using microlearning apps? Is this your habit? Is this useful for you? Haven't you seen any results? Perhaps something about this. Do you have any other tips that could work out? We would love to listen to that.
Yeah. Definitely.
So yeah, I would say that this was it, and let's see if we can turn this into maybe 100 video microlearning content.
Imagine the poor editors
oh
my God. Okay, so see you in the next one, guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much and take care. Bye. Bye, Rox.
Bye.